The New York Liberty continue to improve upon their best start in franchise history. The team improved to 15-3 after knocking off the Atlanta Dream 96-75 on Sunday afternoon. So let's talk some Liberty hoops. We're going to do it with a writer for Sports Illustrated. He covers the Liberty. His name is Geoff Magliocchetti, and he joins me now. Geoff, how you doing?
Hey, Dexter, thanks for having me on. Appreciate you being here. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
We're both doing well. The Liberty, they're doing great. They look dominant against the Dream down in the ATL. What were the key factors in this blowout win that we saw on Sunday from the Liberty?
Very interesting game on Sunday, considering the Liberty led us by as much as 33 in Sunday's game. But at the same time, things got a little bit hairy in the fourth quarter there. But, Leonie Thiebisch really stepped up during the final stages. She kind of helped the Liberty offense wake up long enough to preserve the big lead, to get things rolling. And she's been a real key part of this Liberty group moving forward, especially with so many injuries, so many absences they've had working with this. So that's what makes this little stretch of Liberty basketball so impressive. There's 15-3 right now. As you mentioned, franchise best start. But at the same time, they're playing shorthanded. So that makes this team especially dangerous. What else stood out to me was, in the words of Gary Oldman, everyone got involved in Sunday's game. You saw Marquisha Davis go out there. She was 4 for 4 in the second quarter. The Liberty's most recent first-round pick, chosen at 11 overall out of Mississippi this time around. She really hasn't gotten much playing time, and that was sort of to be expected. She was always meant to be a bit of a project in the early going. There were so many more established names working in the current unit, but at the same time, she has really taken advantage of her opportunities thus far. She was 4-4 from the field today, showed off the aggressiveness that really got her to move up the draft board over at Oxford. So was really interested to see that today. And also, there was a sense of reliability out there today. Sabrina Ionescu, she's currently working on a streak of 43 consecutive games with at least one three-pointer. That's now tied for the fourth longest streak in WNBA history, third longest streak, in terms of rare numbers alone. That's tied with Christy Tolliver. The record is 66 and held by Ivory Lotta. But at the same time, too, we also saw Jonquel Jones continue to expand upon her game. She had 4 assists out there today. That gives her 24 over the past 4 games alone, averaging 6, which is incredible considering she was averaging less than 2 during her Connecticut career. So this is a great stretch for the Liberty right now. They're finding new ways to win. They're finding new ways to contribute. It's now defined by reliability, adaptability, and women stepping up in the clutch.
Yeah, they have been stepping up. You talk about the contributions all around. It's been very impressive with the New York Liberty. And as you talked about, Geoff, during this recent strong play that we've seen, where we've seen 11 wins in the last 12 games, New York, as you mentioned, they've been without Courtney Vandersloot for personal reasons after the passing of her mother. Naira Sabally, Benijah Laney Hamilton, she's missed the past 3 games with a knee injury. How has the team chemistry, in your eyes, evolved during this time where you could have seen the team crumble with certain players being out? Seems like they've gotten stronger, but have you seen this team chemistry, evolve during this time where they've played really good basketball?
You almost have to be blind not to see it out there the way it's transpired over this past month plus. It really kind of got started back on May 29th when there was a bit of an intriguing jump ball situation involving Kayla Thornton. They were playing the Phoenix Mercury. They were in the midst of a 2-game losing streak, a rare losing streak. It was one of the they had not lost. I don't believe they lost consecutive regular season games all of last season. So that could have been a tough stretch for them. But, they came together right there. They came together on that jump ball, sticking up for each other, standing up for each other. And the best part about this season so far, I think it's really the Liberty have done so much in their power, perhaps everything in their power, to dispel the myth that this team, quote unquote, doesn't like each other. We, of course, remember those comments from Kelsey Plum last season at the end of the WNBA Finals. The Liberty took that into account. Jonquel Jones mentioned, I believe to your colleague Andrew Crane over at the New York Post, mentioned that she kind of saw a point in that. She saw too much individual work on the floor. But this time around, she says that everyone's using their own game to complement each other, but also they're using that sense of adaptability to kind of rub off each other, teach each other things. It's a next woman up mentality that is really starting to get things rolling. Yesterday's game, for example, on Saturday afternoon, when they took care of a weekend sweep against the Los Angeles Sparks, you really saw it rolling. Breanna Stewart, during her post-game comments, she gave Kayla Thornton a bit of a new nickname, Kathrila going out there and really because she's really upped her outside game over the past few games. Sabrina Ionescu joined us. She's good enough at her job at this point. Now she's trying to take ours. She came into our scrum with John Paul Jones and tried to ask a question a little bit. They're having fun. They're standing up for each other in both good times and bad. When they beat Connecticut in a huge game that meant so much for the Commissioner's Cup standings, the first thing that Brianna Stewart did when she walked off the floor was dedicate the win to Courtney Vandersloot. And of course, all condolences to Courtney, Allie, and the Vandersloot family over the passing of her mother, Jan. Our prayers are with her. So I feel that, through good times and bad, this team is standing up for each other, both on and off the floor. And it's really dispelling any myth, any concern people had about, you don't want to call this a super team. They famously kind of, steered clear of that title. I like to call it an assembly of all-stars. This assembly of all-stars is standing up for each other, and it's also seeing a renewed sense of camaraderie and chemistry from a bench that has really stepped into their roles as well.
And that leads me to the next thing I wanted to talk about, Geoff, which is the bench. Because when you talk about stepping up, there's no way you cannot talk about this bench here with the New York Liberty, because with those injuries, we've seen players step up off the bench. How significant in your eyes has been the contribution of New York's bench players in sustaining winning momentum that we've seen throughout this season?
Extremely, because, the Liberty had a very quiet offseason. And, first of all, anything was going to be a quiet offseason after what they did in 2023, bringing in Jonquel, bringing in Stewart, bringing in Vandersloot, anything they did this time was going to pale in comparison to the offseason in 2023. But they did quietly revamp their bench unit a little bit. They brought in the rookie Leonie Fibish. They brought in Davis with the 11th pick. She was always meant to be a project. They also brought in Ivana Dojkic over from Seattle, and they also brought in a former Stewart teammate in Kennedy Burke. Look at what's transpired over the past few weeks with this bench right now. And granted, two of them have had to leap into the starting lineup in Fibish and Kayla Thornton, the returning sixth woman of this group. But, it's really interesting to see what's happened so far. Fibish, for example, has really started to leave her mark on this group. Since June 1st, she is third in the WNBA in fourth quarter minutes per game at 7.4. She trails only Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. At the same time, Fibish is also pointing a 91.0 defensive rating in the fourth quarter, which is seventh overall in the W. This is also since June 1st, by the way. That's seventh overall in the W amongst women who have played a minimum average of 5 minutes in the fourth quarter and have also played a minimum of 6 games. So that's really inspiring to see. And you want to talk further adaptability. We touched on it before with Kayla Thornton. She is currently 12 of 21 from three-point range over her last 4 games, which is incredible considering for her entire career, about 7 seasons beforehand, she was a 32.13% three-point percentage shooter. So this is really intriguing to see from the bench right now, because the ironic part about assemblies of all-stars like this is that you're only as good as your role players take you. So this is very inspiring to see. And, this is not meant to disparage last year's group at all. They had a real good group going back then in, players like Stephanie Dolson, players like Marie Johannes, the latter of whom is probably going to stay in France throughout the duration of this process. So we're really seeing some great chemistry form with this group. We're seeing some great adaptability. They're buying in. The Liberty really banked on the idea that a year of chemistry together amongst their starters was going to pay dividends. That gambit is paying off, and the gambits they paid on the bench, the gambits they looked forward to on the bench this time around, are likewise paying off, and it's propelled them to the top of the WNBA leaderboard at this point in time.
It absolutely has. We see that with the 15-3 record that they sport right now. We move on to the Commissioner's Cup game on Tuesday. Geoff, I will see you out at UBS Arena, where the Liberty will host the Lynx. What challenges do the Lynx pose in Tuesday's matchup? And in your eyes, how important would it be for the Liberty to win the franchise's second straight Commissioner's Cup here on Tuesday?
What's so interesting about the Minnesota Lynx is that they seem like a team that, was grown in a lab to defeat the New York Liberty. They have matched the Liberty in so many areas at this point. For example, they're currently first in the league in three-point percentage, and they're also tops in the league in three-point defense, which, has been the Liberty's bread and butter over the past years. But they're really starting to adapt in that area as well. Something talked about with Sabrina Ionescu. Of course, nothing more needs to be said about her three-point prowess. We saw enough of that over All-Star Weekend. But what stood out to me about Sabrina this time around, she has started to up her mid-range and interior game. She is currently taking just over 48% of her field goal attempts from two-point range. That's over 10 percentage points higher than last season, and it's really added big steps to her game. You look further in what Minnesota has been able to do. They're also first in assists this season, and the Liberty have really made a living off their assist game this year. It's so rare you see an unassisted field goal in there. And also, that you can contribute that, by the way, to the addition of Courtney Williams, who has done absolute wonders for them. And also, Minnesota is second in blocks at this point in time. We've seen the Liberty throw a few block parties in recent times. You would have thought it was Thanksgiving the way Breanna Stewart brought the stuffing on Saturday night. 6 blocks, just the fourth player in Liberty history to put up 6 blocks in a single game, including that fantastic chase down we saw in the second half of the latter game against the Los Angeles Sparks. But, you have Nafisa Collier, who would probably be on my personal MVP ballot at this point in time. She's certainly up there. Of course, Breanna Stewart's fellow UConn alumna and her business partner, considering they're starting a new offseason league next year. And you also have to keep an eye on Alana Smith, who has done the same thing. So, those are 2 players who are in the interior who can really mess with the Liberty a little bit in terms of Sabrina's newfound interior prowess, in terms of what John Paul Jones has repeatedly been able to do. But the Liberty understand how important a second consecutive Commissioner's Cup title would be, because this would speak wonders about what they have been able to build. It would prove that what they have here can help them win both now and later, because the Commissioner's Cup format, is a little different this time around, because, we're playing 5 games instead of 10. It's a speedier process. The championship game is earlier in the season. It's going to be in late June as opposed to mid-August. Now, a format like last year's Commissioner's Cup, the way we did it for the first 3 go-arounds, that gives you time to get to know each other a little bit. It's late enough in the season, and you know what you're getting by then. This time around, the Liberty, had to develop chemistry quicker if they wanted to stage a true defense of their Commissioner's Cup title. But so not only did they do that, they went undefeated in this stretch with not only new women in the mix, but at the same time, missing women in the mix too. You mentioned Niara Sabali, you mentioned Benajolani Hamilton, we mentioned Courtney Vandersloot. So I think this would really be a testament to what the Liberty are planning to build both now and later. Of course, the real championship they want comes this fall, but at the same time, this would be a fantastic statement to make on a grand national stage.
Absolutely would be, and they've made some fantastic statements this season already, defeating the Aces, also knocking off at the at-time Connecticut Sun, who were undefeated at that time. So Liberty will look to make another statement on Tuesday night, looking to win their 2nd straight Commissioner's Cup. That is Geoff Magliocchetti. Catch out his work on SI.com. You can catch him there. Does a great job covering the Liberty. Geoff, great stuff. I will see you on Tuesday at UBS Arena. It should be a good one. I know you will enjoy it, and I will see you there, my friend.
Dexter, looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on. Keep up the great work, sir. Appreciate your time and insight.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it so much. We will see you soon.
Can't wait.